You're live on PM Express tonight. On the show, we are just 48 hours to a very important election. If you've not paid attention, well, tonight we'll try and help you appreciate what is about to happen as far as Ghana football is concerned. Normalizing the game in this country, the leadership contest and the way forward. Many say this is how we save Ghana football. But is that really true? Now, preparations we know now are far advanced for the GFA to elect new president, new members to head the executive council this very Friday. I mean, I'm sure you know by now, the background to all this is accusations leveled and uncovered by Anas, Aramaya Anas, the massive rot that was uncovered at the GFA that led to the sacking of Kwesi Nyantakyi has triggered all this. The GFA was suspended for a while. Normalisation Committee was put in place to try and bring things up and running. This has resulted in several attempts by government to reform the GFA, but the impact is yet to be felt. I mean, the road to the elections has not been as smooth sailing as many anticipated, because we know that one of the leading candidates, some say he was a front runner in the race, has been disqualified, and he's taking this matter on quite seriously. His petition, we know, has been rejected by the Normalisation Committee, and it all has to do with the gentleman here, Joseph Pinsel. He was sold for some 3 million cedis. The Normalisation Committee's euros. The Normalisation Committee's point is that 10% of that had to come in to the FA, but did not. And so, as a result of that, you know, Mr. Palmer has to suffer. Well, he's challenging all that. Now, Palmer has petitioned the Court of Arbitration for Sport after his appeal to Normalisation Committee was dismissed. What is FIFA saying? He has also sent a complaint to FIFA alleging various ethical breaches, including a tape, a secret recording he claims to have of the chairman of the Normalisation Committee, in which he accuses him of being biased, also conducting himself in an unethical manner. Well, we're yet to hear from FIFA on this. This is just today. We understand that today the GFA gates were closed to a court bailiff who had attempted to serve them documents suspected to be an injunction notice that was they attempted to serve on the FA. Who is attempting to serve this injunction notice? We don't know yet. We'll try and find out from the top brains as far as football is concerned, the football people, to help us appreciate who had initiated this. So here you are. Here are the faces, the presidential aspirants who are hoping to lead Ghana football into its next chapter. They've been engaging in the debate on Monday. We have Fred Papo, you know him. He's been there. He's an old hand. Has been there, the vice president of the GFA. We have George Friye himself, Ket Okreku, Nana Yawa Mponsa, and many say Nana Yawa Mponsa performed outstandingly on Monday when it came to the debate. His thoughts were clear, and I'm quoting Gary Al-Smith here. He wrote a piece analyzing their performance. Amanda Clinton, well, many say, you know, she's not really in to lead the GFA. She's in for her own, you know, ambitions. But what are these ambitions? And wouldn't it be great to have the first GFA president who is a female? By the way, she's already made history by being a first female to even dream, to even have the guts to even stand for the elections. But many people haven't listened to her on the debate, during the debate, thought, well, she is possibly out of her depth as far as that is concerned. Well, we'll talk about that with the experts. Jordan Kuma-Mensah is also in this particular race. So these are the faces that the delegates will be considering on Friday. Now, key reforms though. One of the key issues was amending the FA statutes to plug the loopholes which, according to many, was exploited by the previous administration. That, I understand, has been done. That was done last month the challenge for the next FA administration, many suggested, should be the cleanup of the image of the association in the wake of the scandals that they've had to deal with over the last few years. Clean up the image. Who is best placed to do that and usher the FA into a chapter void of controversy, corruption allegations, and scandal? Big question, evaluating the leadership contest and the way forward. Are these individuals the best individuals to lead Ghana football into a chapter where we can all fall in love with the game again? I don't know about you, but I am hopeful that this holds a solution. We'll talk to the experts about that when we return from the break. Stay with us. You're live on PM Express tonight, and this is the love of the nation. It's football. Many people have fallen out of love with football for years, and many tracked this all the way back to when we flew the cash to Brazil. And since then, many have struggled to find a way to love the football, the game, the beautiful game. Forget about the Black Stars. Now, the women's game is also very exciting now. So there's a lot that we stand to lose if we fail to get this right. And this is a last opportunity to fix the problem with Ghana football. And it all starts on Friday. I guess many have argued, if we fail to elect the right people, well, then it's pretty much doomed. In the studio are people who understand the game. They've been there, they've done that. Ibrahim Sani Dara, you know him. He's a former spokesperson of the GFA, member of the CAF Media Experts Panel. And I'm grateful. I've been chasing him for a long time. Trust me. Today he's decided to take pity on me and agree to be here. Sani, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you again.
Nice seeing you, Sani. Also with me as another spokesperson. He's a former spokesperson of the GFA Normalisation Committee, Dan Kweku Yeboah. And of course, if you don't know him, then you aren't in Ghana. Dan, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, bro.
I mean, and I didn't know you had resigned.
Yeah.
I just don't follow.
We have two former spokespersons.
I mean, so they know what they're talking about. So Dan, let me start with you. This is where we are. Elections in 48 hours. What's your reaction to where there's no FA, right? The Normalisation Committee is the normalization of football.
FIFA refers to it as the GFA-NC.
I see. That's what the
GFA Normalisation
Committee. Okay. Where's your assessment of where we are now with elections approaching? Well, are we in a good place?
We've come a long way. Nobody ever thought that all of a sudden a certain Anas Arimiyawa Anas would show to the world what pertains at the GFA, and it will bring us to where we are today. The Normalisation Committee took over. I think that they've done their bit, but a lot of things have been left untouched. I still think that there are a lot of things within our football that should have been normalized.
Before now?
Yes.
Such as, let's go into that.
First of all,
I mean, we'll have a lot of time to talk about elections, but let's go into that. Because if we don't get the fundamentals right, an election will just be
a few days ago, we had issues. There were wranglings about who qualifies to be part of Congress. Okay. That issue should have been sorted out right from day one. When the NC took over, I think our first project should have been to set up an ethics committee and then look into all the ethical issues that cropped up. Because if you look at what happened to Ghana football, apart from the decision FIFA took, the decision CAF took, Ghana as a country, we've practically done nothing about it. Be it from the government perspective or from the football perspective. From the government perspective, people were expecting prosecutions, and at the end of the day, the Attorney General said no law can prosecute anybody who appeared in the video. From the football perspective, where morality and ethical issues could have applied, we shouldn't have gotten to a point where it became a debate whether Kofi Menu, who appeared in the video, qualifies to have attended the most recent Congress. And so I think that the NC failed in that direction. The other things that people were saying that whatever the NC did after they leave the scene should mirror the future of our football. So there are a lot of things that we should have done. For instance, when it comes to security, during the NC special competition, I think we should have made efforts to improve the situation. We had a lot of referees issues here and there, a female referee being badly beaten and all. It is just because
it's still happening.
It is just because we failed to act outside the box. We just followed the routine, the usual way that the former FA used in organizing matches, where the home team is responsible for security. Depending on the category of the match, category A, B, C, the home team will be asked to pay for security. I think that we should have varied how to cater for security. For instance, I once upon a time suggested to my boss that once we have sponsorship money for the competition, what we should have done was to deduct the monies meant for security payment from source. So that if you are a club and you are playing at home and you refuse to go for the number of security men required, you do so at your own peril because the deduction has been done already. But once you leave them within their comfort zone to go hire the policemen, if the match requires that they bring 20 policemen, comfortably they will go for 5, knowing that their supporters would have the opportunity to misbehave. So there are a lot of areas that we should have touched as Normalization Committee, but it is too late. I think it's a golden opportunity.
You raised a very important point. Sonny, I thought we were going to just have a conversation about elections, but he's made a point, which is many see the elections as the crown and the jewel. That's the last step you take before this normalization thing is over and we are back to full business. So if you don't get the preparation towards elections right, as in changing what existed that led us to now, you may just be papering over the cracks with a new executive council, with a new president. Are you happy with the road we've traveled so far since we sort of did away with the GFA as we knew it?
I think that the Normalization Committee did well. There's still a lot that could have been done. I agree with Dan on many points. But let me just state it. Football is tough.
Okay.
Football administration is no child's joke. When people sit at the back and they observe, you know, they make flowery statements, we can do this, we can do that. When you're at the helm, you see things differently. I remember when Dr. Amwa was appointed, I was in Egypt as a CAF Media Experts panel member for one of the congresses. We had a conversation about, you know, the league and the rest like that. He was very dogged on what he thinks should be done with the league and the rest like that. And few weeks, I saw him reverse that position he had. Because when the reality hits you, you take a back step. Perhaps some of the steps that Dan has spoken about, first of all, in my opinion, even before the Ethics Committee was set up, should have come perhaps an education forum where not only the GFA, clubs, the media, supporters, and everybody. In 2 years ago, I was in Italy and I saw a company called JoyNews. They provide statistics for betting companies and the rest, but they also provide training against match fixing and the rest like that. And they were offering these sorts of training for clubs in the Serie A. I witnessed one of these sessions, and I would have thought that should have been the starting point. Look, a lot of the things that happen, some are designed, but some are out of ignorance. A lot of the things we do in football, some even don't know that there are laws surrounding it and the rest like that. So maybe the starting point, yes, should have been an ethics committee, but most importantly was to educate people and to bring them along and then to put together some systems. I would suggest the early warning system. The early warning system is a system that FIFA puts in place, or FIFA has, that shows you patterns, betting patterns, countries. So let's say a match between Brecum Chelsea and Hearts of Oak, for instance. If people throughout the world are betting on let's say Brecum Chelsea, let's say a lower team as compared to Hearts, beating Hearts 4-0, and people are betting like that, you know, you have to call off the match. This
in
is
real time. You have to be monitoring this in real time.
Yes. Okay. So it will ring the red alarm bells for you that this particular match, there's this result that people are betting on. So call off the match and investigate it. So these are some of the things that, you know, should have been done. But look, football is tough.
What makes it so tough?
It makes it so tough because it's passion. A lot of the time, it's no reason. People talk out of passion. Even commentators, media, the fans, team owners, those involved, people talk about it for, you know, a lot of the times, not out of reason, but passion. You see somebody go to a field to attack a female referee. Yeah. For what reason? It beggars belief that you go there, attack a female, but when the person, you know, realizes that this is what I've done, said, have I gone crazy? This is what football does to you.
Dan, prior to, the elections, this is 48 hours away, one of the key concerns that people had in the wake of the announced investigations was, they say the president had too much powers, clip his wings. And people thought, okay, we're going to go to Congress, amend part of the FA statutes, etc. Has that been done, and has it been done adequately to change the fundamentals of the game going into the next elections?
Well, that is true. Generally, I think the public share the same opinion. Everybody shares the same opinion that the former president had too many powers. I would say something has been done about it, okay, but not to the best of expectations.
What has been done about it? Educate myself and my listeners.
For instance, with the new statute now, the FA president wouldn't have the authority to appoint his own vice. Okay. That used to be the case in the
Who does the appointment now?
Now, after the election, the 11-member executive council would have to vote to get the vice president to work with the president. In the course of sampling views from the clubs and the administrators and the general public, some suggested that we should have had two vice presidents, something that I think we should have given it a try. Vice president responsible for maybe administration, then the other one responsible for something else. That could be debated. That was not done, but at least the situation where the president appoints his vice has been eradicated. Then the number of people who go to Congress. This was an issue that a lot of people feel that it shouldn't have been done the way the NC did it.
How did it do it?
People think that it should have been expanded.
Okay, make it difficult to corrupt people.
Exactly, because we're living in a country where there's this popular cliche, fear delegates.
Through delegates.
If you are going into any election and the delegates are few, you run the risk of having results that are skewed by monetary influences. So people felt that you should have expanded it. I don't know the argument that was put forward by the president of the NC, but his responses were that FIFA wouldn't agree because FIFA itself has a membership of 205 or 204. So FIFA would not allow a member association to have more than 200 member Congress. I feel we should have argued our case out because this is Africa. It happened to the ruling party.
True.
When they realized that a certain Alan Cash was trying to...
They changed it. NDC followed
exactly.
suit also. Even had a bigger delegates.
So I'm sure if probably the NC had argued from that perspective that, yes, FIFA, what you are saying is true, but this is Africa. Especially because there was an MOU signed on behalf of the President of the Republic by Honorable Isiama and Infantino that FIFA, in collaboration with the government of Ghana, are going to take steps that are going to change the face of football in Africa. And
in
so,
Africa, not
yes,
in Ghana.
oh yes, they said football in Africa.
Interesting.
And so I think that we should have argued our case well. But quite apart from that, the few changes we've made, maybe it's going to help. Originally, we had
But they are not adequate for you?
They are not adequate. Okay. Because originally we had a different person, a different individual as president of Congress. That was the old statute before it was reviewed, and then this one came in. I think that system was the best, where the president of the FA will not preside over as president of Congress, because then there are a lot of conflict of interest situations. When you table something at Congress, you need to lobby people to agree with you. So if the president of the FA doubles as the president of Congress, there's always that temptation that whatever he says, it is likely he would get the majority to follow.
Has that been changed?
It's not been changed. Formally, it was like that under Y. Ibrahim and Justice Ampia. Then under Nyantichi, it was reviewed that the president of the FA becomes the president of Congress, which to me was not the best.
So that is still in the statute
It's still there.
So whoever wins on Friday,
yes,
when there's Congress, he's going to
presides over it. I think it is not the best. It should have been changed. There have been few changes here and there.
So let me ask you a fundamental question before I come to Sunny. So all that you've said, would you say the NC has succeeded or has failed in, they were given a task to normalize Ghana football? Have they succeeded in that task, in changing the fundamentals of football management in Ghana and leaving a proper blueprint for whoever wins on Friday? Have they succeeded?
Well, based on the mandate that they were giving to run the day-to-day affairs of the FA, I think on that score they did their best. Results of our national teams were not the best. Some did well, others failed, which is normal. Then organizing elections, I think so far they've done well, because if you compare the electoral process that we're seeing today to the past, I think that there are a lot of improvement. Then changing the statute or reviewing the statute. I think that when it comes to reviewing the statute, we should have done better.
So they failed then?
I wouldn't say they failed, but they didn't live up to expectation. Okay. Because we had a situation where the statute was sent to FIFA for approval before stakeholder consultations were done, which in my estimation shouldn't have been the case. If I really need your opinion on something, I do not take it for final approval and then come and ask you of your opinion. It is irrelevant. And that is how come the clubs nearly boycotted the statute. But for the fact that the mandate of the NC would have been extended, this statute would have been boycotted.
Interesting. Sunny?
Let me just make a few observations from it. Let me start from the statutes. Let me state, as a matter of fact, that more than 15 countries came to Ghana to study our statutes.
The previous one?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of countries, when they want to put their football in shape, would be sent to Ghana to look at our statutes. I don't think that our statutes were that defective. You know, there are people who agitated. Oh, the president had too much powers. We have to clip his wings.
You agree with that?
And no. From the inside, from what I saw from the inside, one, there's no country. We even had too much numbers. Nigeria, a country of more than 120 million, have 78 people at Congress. So the call for the expansion of Congress won't sit well with FIFA, because FIFA funds Congress. Any Congress is funded by FIFA. So they are wary of numbers, and they are wary of, you know, too much talk.
But Sonny, I felt that it was an opportunity to argue our case out.
Yes, we could have.
But yeah, looking at where we are, where we are.
Well, FIFA says that a country like Nigeria has 78, Zambia has 40 something, and all the countries are low. In fact, what FIFA would have tried to do at that instance was to even beat the numbers down. We are even lucky to keep the numbers, because in the past, FIFA had been engaged over the numbers, and they said, no, we can't go below it. So going forward, I think that FIFA will continue to engage any future federation on, or any future leadership on even reducing the numbers.
What's your position? Should we expand or should we keep it?
I think the number is decent. Okay. I think the number is decent.
Even with that peculiar...
Yes, I think the number is decent. Or perhaps maybe, you know, just shifting some balances a little bit, it will be fair enough. For instance, introducing women onto Congress, I think it's something laudable.
Even the media.
Nowhere in the world have I seen
that is
the
why
media.
I said that we had a peculiar situation and we should have argued our case out.
Okay, maybe perhaps I will not decline that
because for instance, when it comes to merchandising our league, the media has a major role to play. I felt that for us to have that sense of belongingness, Swag could have been given a slot and tell Swag that we recognize media as an integral part of developing our football. I mean, we can't obviously compare our situation.
You have a bad guy in the UK where the media funds the league.
Well, the
Sky
media,
Sports,
they pay a lot of
and they control it. They dictate the times.
They pay a lot of money to acquire the rights, and they protect the league.
True.
Just this weekend, there are too many racism incidents in the English league, for instance, at all levels. They just smother it because they actually try to protect their league. Yeah. It's true, but the media has a watchdog role. You cannot be the watchman and still be within it.
I don't think that a single vote at Congress would have changed the media landscape. I don't think so.
I think the media should stay as the watchdog and should play its role. It should hold leadership to account and everything. And I think that the media should be strong in doing that. But I don't think, being on the table as a member of it is the right place for the media. And then the role of the vice president in selecting the vice president. I think that based on what I have seen, it is important that any president that comes must be able to pull his people along. Honestly, I've seen some unpalatable things when leadership is pulling in one direction and others also on the same table pulling in another direction.
Checks and balances.
Yes. In fact, that is
that's
why
good for democracy.
It could be good. No, but if it becomes destructive, for instance, persistent leaks, having meetings and phones are turned on and the media is listening outside. People are leaking.
Good for business.
No,
good for my business.
Yes, absolutely. It's good for the media, but what does it do to the health of the game?
Okay.
So there are things that CAF recently, even this was even hand-picked appointments. President Ahmad discovered something that he had to fire his vice.
Although he picked him.
Yes. It happens. It's a game, and as I said, it's a game of passion.
So what happens to the other ESCO members that you don't?
If you don't trust your vice president enough, and I'm not referring to anything in the past, like your vice president having a dagger at your back all the time. It doesn't bode well for good
same question
administration.
Has the Normalisation Committee done a good job?
I think so. I think
are you saying that as of tonight, with just 24 hours to go, we are ready to take off? They've laid the foundation for a proper takeoff.
I think that, look, regardless of where the Normalisation Committee leaves, any leader who takes over from the Normalisation Committee will have a lot of work to do.
Let's talk about
that. Not even that. I fear for the future. The fear I have for the future is the intensity of this campaign. Now, if the
it
new
has
leader,
been mind-boggling.
Yes.
I'm not watching this, but what I'm hearing, people have pumped a lot into this. It's been fairs, there's been controversy. For the first time, the GF elections has hit national headlines.
Absolutely.
Is that normal?
It's not normal. It's not normal. It's never normal. I share a common platform with a lot of African football journalists and global football journalists. They were surprised that we are holding a debate, a presidential debate. Now, my fear is that when you have a leader, and if people are going to be as fierce as they did, and if the leader doesn't put in enough measures to bring perhaps losing candidates on board, you are going to have too many opposition people in opposition. and it will not bode well for competition for the game.
I disagree totally, because this is Ghana Football Association, and like I said, whatever happened has paved way for an opportunity for us to do things differently. And so, if we've had the opportunity to rebrand, restore, revive all the R's you can think about, and the ordinary Ghanaian would have the opportunity to listen to whoever is likely to take over our football and convinces himself that this is the right choice. I think that it opens an avenue for that person to pull the people along when he
beyond the delegate.
Exactly, okay. Because that is what actually fought against our football.
But he has to finance it,
because in the past,
yes.
Well,
people
felt that we are football people. We are running our football. To hell with the public.
True.
And it never helped the FA. In fact, most of the issues that were used against the FA were issues of perception. When the media started talking about it, they disagreed with us. One day, we woke up and the World Anti-Corruption Agency, Transparency International, had said the same thing. It might not be the fact, but perception is important because football is business, and you need the community, you need the corporate world, you need the people to follow the game, to be able to merchandise and commercialize it very well. And so if we've had the opportunity to let people be part of whatever is going on, I think it's good. Because one thing boggles my mind, FIFA preaches participation, FIFA preaches fair play, and these are tenets of democracy. But football itself is not democratic.
No. Can I quickly react to that? I'm not saying that the candidates should not espouse their vision. I think it is important that their vision is laid bare to the public so the public can buy into it. But what is not healthy for football? Football, remember, it's not like the general, political politics. It's an issue of a game that everybody must be involved. If it becomes too intense, if the debate becomes too intense, it involves a lot of people putting financial resources, a lot of financial resources towards it, it becomes deadly. Drag me, I drag you. But we know that as a country, we must pull together when our national teams are playing. But if somebody feels that, look, I've campaigned so hard, I could not get him. This is football. You can have somebody actually working against you while even your national team is playing. I think that it behoves on the new president, if he takes over, to put in measures to bring all the brains on board. Even me, if I happen to be the next president, look, I would say, one person does not have the knowledge of the world. You can pick something from somebody's manifesto. It's not a shame to say that, somebody has good policies. Let me adopt them. And even co-opt the person, put the person on committees and the rest.
When we come back, I'll ask whether out of the number of people who have put themselves out for president, which of these satisfy that criteria you just laid out? We'll analyze and look at their strengths and weaknesses when we return from this break. Stay with us. My guest in the studio, still on PMS Press, Ibrahim Sanidara, is a former spokesperson of the GFA and also former spokesperson for the Normalisation Committee, Dan Kwekwe. Dan, let me start with you on this. There are 6 candidates, one disqualified, we'll talk about him shortly, who are up for election on Friday to be president. You've analyzed these 6. Are you happy with the quality of material out there?
Well, that is why I said that I am happy the debate was organized. I think it gave the Ghanaians the opportunity to see the quality of leaders that we are selecting to run our football. Of the 6 candidates, let me be honest, Amanda Clinton, honestly, I think she joined for publicity purposes. I'm being frank with you. Because almost all the candidates had started campaigning a year, 2 years, 6 months ago. The only time I heard of her was when it was time to file nomination. I was surprised.
But she was speaking for
lawyer
the
George Ankama.
Yes, yeah. When
she was struggling
the
to get
government
endorsements.
tried to
Lawyer George Ankama, same thing. I think the rest, the remaining 4 mean business.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to sit here and pinpoint that candidate A or B would wear the crown. I think we should look at the messages they are preaching. They are preaching around some cardinal points. Restoration. Almost all the candidates are talking about restoring and rebranding our football, which is very important. Be it perception or reality, the FA had issues with corruption. And the image of the FA was badly bruised. And so if we want to push our football forward, there is the need to create a new image so that it will be easy for the corporate world to associate with it. Believe you me, without getting close to the corporate world, there is no way our domestic football will get to its destination. No way. And as it stands now, it is difficult. During the normalization special competition, Dr. Moa and his team, they roamed and visited a lot of entities.
You were part of that team.
No. I know what I'm talking about.
Don't run away.
I don't want to go there. I know what I'm saying. So.
Yes, I know.
During one of our meetings, he said that one multinational company in Ghana told them that the board has taken a decision that until the image of Ghana football is bettered, there's no way they are going to associate with that football. And this company I'm talking about has been associated with football for years.
Wow. Okay.
So they were taken aback, but that is the reality. And so if the restoration, the rebranding, the revival they are preaching, if they really mean business, we should look at that. Look at the manifestos and look at who is giving us a better option as to how to rebrand our football. Some have spoken about grassroots football, which is the very foundation of our football.
True.
Unfortunately, whilst the years are moving ahead, our football is taking backward steps.
True.
Our football is moving into the future with backward steps. That is how come a few years ago, people would run to Tema to watch King Harrison babies and coast teams and all. Now,
I used to go to Indafa Park.
coast football
There's one at Adabraka.
is nothing to write home about.
Sahara Park.
Of course, one cannot blame the FA alone for this, because training pitches and football pitches within our communities meant for football, the next moment you realize it's been converted into a shopping mall.
Yeah.
So government hasn't done enough in terms of providing infrastructure. But then the RFAs have also failed us, because it got
RFA?
the Regional Football Association chairman. They are directly supposed to run coast football. It got to a point where some could not even organize the leagues at all in their regions. It got to a point where even though you are an affiliate of the Regional Football Association, you have paid your affiliation fee, you have to pay referees to be able to play. You have to buy your own leather football to be able to play.
Are you kidding?
Oh, yes. And so we haven't helped ourselves as far as building the foundation of our football is concerned. We have rather built the Black Stars, which is the roof, and left the foundation unattended.
So on that score,
the
4 candidates you say they are the most serious for you, do they all satisfy the criteria you just painted for me?
They've all spoken about all the issues I'm raising.
Okay.
But it's up to the delegates to look into the manifesto to see who is the better option, because this is a contest of ideas. You get it? Fred Papu has his manifesto. Everybody has. So we look into it. Who is telling us a better story about how to bring back our grassroots football, because it is the very foundation of our football.
Then I'm going to come back and pin you down a bit, because I'm out of the 4, but I'll go to you. He's ruled out 2 already. He's ruled out Amanda and he's ruled out George Ankoma. He's sticking with Kurt, Edwin, Simon Okriku, George Afriye, Fred Papo, and Danaya Ampoma. Correct? Amponsa. You?
From what I know,
are you happy with the caliber of people out there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He's already done an elimination of a few.
Absolutely. I think that Amanda was smart enough to take advantage of the situation. Yes, she was the lawyer for people who fought for the FA when government tried to take it over. Because in truth, Ghana Football Association is not a government entity. She stood and she took advantage of it. Perhaps in future it will serve her well. People might ridicule how she turned out during the debate, but it was a fast move. Imagine, people now know that she has some knowledge about football. See the number of football cases she would get. Issues at the Statutes Committee with players and the rest. There's a lot of business you can do there. So it's an industry she can cut for herself easily. Mr. Ankuma looks new.
So diplomatically, Amanda is out.
But
well,
I think that's what
yes,
you agree with him.
Yes,
That, you know.
but you know, Mr. Ankuma, for instance, is not known at the highest levels of football administration. So it will be very difficult for him. Let me tell you, in truth, the people will not depart from the people we know already.
Fred Papo,
Afriye, George Afriye, Kurt Okreku, or Nanaya Amponsa. A few years ago when I was working at the BBC, Nanaya used to come to my office almost every week.
Okay.
You know, he was, trying to build himself, and he had a lot of plans. And clearly, from what he showed during the debate, he was good. He was good. The same applies to Kurt, it applies to George, it applies to Fred Papo. But I'll tell you, mark my words, those who have been ingrained in the industry in recent times, one of them will pick the seat. Mark my words. If you like, after the elections, we'll come back and let's go.
That's a very important point.
Yes.
So you say in recent times?
In recent times.
So that rules out Fred Papo?
You can take my judgments as what you hear, but I'm telling you.
Because it belongs to the old guy. You're saying the new guy will get it?
That is a fact.
Why?
Why? Because they have dealt with the clubs in most recent times.
Okay.
So when you go away from it a little bit, you fade from the memory. So those who have dealt with them, let's say for instance, George Afriye, for instance, was the vice president. He was dealing directly with the clubs. Okay. One creative thing, Kurt Okreku, he did the MTN FA Cup. He dealt with almost every club.
That's his brainchild?
Yes. He rebranded the tournament. He did it well.
Okay.
The rest like that. So he dealt with clubs, the owners, the clubs themselves directly, one-on-one. So it gives them an advantage over somebody who has not been at the helm in recent times.
One thing you shouldn't lose sight of is that this election is different. It is different because over the years, most of the elections the FA had organized, you could see maybe 40% of the club owners participating. But this time around, almost all the delegates are club owners. They are no more sending representatives. So that is the difference.
What impact might that have?
The impact here and the argument by the club owners was that you would send your representative who might be your CEO, even though he runs the club, in terms of putting money in the club, he does not. So if you tell him that, go and vote for Sani Dara, Sani could secure me sponsorship to run my club. You go and vote for Dango Kuyeboy because Dango Kuyeboy is his friend. Okay, so and he hasn't helped their cause for the club owners.
Okay, yes.
I would add another dimension, and that dimension is very real. And that dimension is the fact that these relationships, whether it is with club owners or not, stand tall. Even if the club owner comes and he has a good relationship with you, it's a good relationship, that's it. And I'll cite an example, Moses Parker. He has a very, very good relationship with George Afriye, long-standing good relationship with George Afriye. Yeah. He has decided to vote and campaign for George because of his relationship. And same would apply. Yeah. Same would apply. And there might be other factors. I noted something this evening. And you'd see the trajectory we come from this, or we draw our root from this, and we must stick to it. This tribalism will come to play, ethnicity will come to play, where you come from, which languages you speak, all of those things will be important in this election.
Now, here's a hard question. Out of your four, who is most likely to carry the day?
That is difficult.
I know.
That is difficult. It will be very difficult for me
Okay,
to
give me your top two.
Top two, George and Nana Amponsa.
You agree? Your top two?
I disagree.
Or your top two will be?
I won't name names. I won't name names.
Why? What are you afraid of? I
No,
don't know
no. I will not, but I disagree. The top two are known.
Let us know your
They know it. No, I'll hide this away.
To the controversy. Palmer, he's gone to FIFA, he's gone to the arbitration. There's a sense that they might get an injunction. Nobody knows. Somebody else tried to do that today, but that's different. Has he got a case? And summarize this for me, because that story
honestly,
is well, but has he got a case?
I have listened to argument from the Normalisation Committee. I've had the opportunity to speak to Palmer a couple of times and some of his guys. It is difficult for me to sit here and say that he has or he doesn't have a case. The reason being that if you speak to them, they think Palmer doesn't have a case.
Okay.
Palmer thinks he has a case.
Did he actually do what he's alleged to have done?
The difficulty here is that the NC is working, as far as this electoral process is concerned, is working with transitional provisions from FIFA. Okay. That says that the decision of the NC as regards the election is final. That is the difficulty. Okay. You get it? Okay. So
there's nowhere else to go. Exactly. But that's why he's gone to FIFA. And
it will come back to the NC.
It will come back to the NC.
It will come back to the NC.
But I don't think that is right. In football, there are channels for appeal. If you create an open and shut situation, it doesn't work in football. You must make room for appeals and the rest like that. So people
But he appealed, they threw it out.
Yes. People,
so it's finished.
So, I mean, if you say it's...
he went to CAS initially, he was asked to come and exhaust the channels, all the channels.
Yes.
But the NC were not ready to sit down with him. So he had to go back.
So you see, in football, when you create an open and shut situation, it creates an unnecessary legal wrangles like perhaps we might have.
That might be how this may eventually play out. It might end up in court.
It's difficult to say. Already there's an injunction pending against the elections. Let's see how it pans out. But I would have thought that at least they should have made way for him to be listened internally to prevent him from going outside.
What do you say to those ignorant watchers like us, ourselves, who heard that his association with Nyantechi may have been an issue?
I can't tell if it's true.
I mean, this whole story about him traveling
I don't think that is the case.
It wasn't the case?
I don't think that is the case. I don't want to go into the legalities of the regulations and all. But I honestly think that when it comes to integrity and morality, Palmer doesn't have a case.
Okay.
Because during the Mahama administration, he felt that the FA had issues with Nilante. So unfortunately, he went on radio to make some remarks that under normal circumstances he shouldn't have made. And I don't think FIFA would entertain that. For an ESCO member to publicly say that we should have induced referees to qualify for Russia 2018, I do not think FIFA would smile at him when they get that tape.
So after Friday, okay, unless the executive committee members, council members are there, executive council members, Division 1, all that. I mean, some names, very brief comment on that. I mean, I guess the name that everybody's been talking about is Randy Abe. But there are some good names there. Happy with the lot? Dan?
There are some old horses that I expect them to be back. Randy Abe, I'm very sure he's going to come back. I wish Alhaji Grusa gets the nod because he comes with a lot of experience. Of course, there are other up-and-coming guys, Frederick Achampong from Ashgold, sometime Otua Champong, Enimado. I think these young guys...
So this is good, as it stands.
Yes, I think
now the final question, Sonny. So after Friday, Is Ghana football ready to take off? Knowing what you expect will happen, you won't tell me your top two, but assuming your top two wins, are you confident that we are ready now to take the ball by the horn?
I think there's a lot of work to be done.
The number one thing the person must do to transform?
Integrity.
Okay.
Bring back the integrity, but I want to intervene quickly on what Dan said about Colts football. Colts football is not gone, as perhaps we think. In Accra, when you watched Colts football, Hearts Babies at Adabraka.
I played in Colts football, actually.
You see?
On Sahara Park.
Oh, fantastic.
Zaytuna, I think it's called.
Yes, Zaytuna, yes. Yeah. In those days, you had 16 Colts teams. Yeah. Today in Accra alone, you have 200 Colts teams.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there are more than 2,000 Colts clubs.
Is it about numbers or
in
about
Ghana.
Quality?
Yes, you have to speak about it. You are right. You're absolutely right. For instance, if you want to give assistance to Colts club, let's say even just kit, it's impossible. It's impossible. But we also have to take, like Dan said, to take cognizance of our expanding population, facilities, and also for government to also see that football is not just child's play. We have to see it as an industry. So I would expect that if a new leader is coming in place, we entertain Colts football, but also make way for the academies. We think that Colts youth football is dead. It's not dead. Today, as we speak now, in the Danish first division, there's a club that has 5 players at the top league who moved straight from the youth system of Ghana and are playing at the top leagues there. So everything is not as destroyed as, you know, we need to do a lot of fine-tuning. But if we get the integrity right, I think that we can...
Then after Friday, we'll be ready to fly.
It will be difficult. I was expecting the league to have started.
Yes.
Because we should have synchronized our calendar with that of Europe, so that whoever takes over as the FA boss continues. But relationship between the NC boss and the club deteriorated so much so that inviting them to meetings was a problem. Okay. And so whoever wins has a lot of job to do.
Okay. But are you hopeful that a year down the line we'll be celebrating a rebirth of the game?
It depends on who wins.
Okay. Hopeful?
I'm very, very hopeful. I think that the guys who have offered themselves are capable. I think that Ghana football has got what it takes to get back at the highest level, and the new leader must take the right steps, unite people behind them, get the media to get behind them, get the fans behind them, and I think we'll be fine.
Ibrahim Sanidara, former spokesperson, GFA, Dan Kwekwe, former spokesperson, the Normalisation Committee. My name is Evans Mensah. On Friday, we'll see what happens and see if Ghana football is ready to take back its fantastic cloth they used to have on when we took on the world and nearly went to the semi-finals. I still remember that game. Suarez. Enjoy the rest of the evening.